The Flash. The Flash is the latest from the DCEU and it follows Barry Allen, aka The Flash, as he realizes he has the ability to travel through time when moving quick enough. Therefore, he decides to use this ability to try and go back in time and save his mother from dying. As with any time travel movie, changing things in the past has ramifications for the future, with this film exploring the multiverse as we get other versions of Barry Allen, Bruce Wayne, and a certain Kryptonian. I was really excited for this film ever since it first got announced. I really wanted this film to be awesome. I really wanted it to be good. But obviously, it's a DCEU movie, so there's your first problem because they're very unpredictable, they're very hit and miss. And obviously, it's not Zack Snyder or James Gunn directing the film, so that again adds a bit of worry to the whole dynamic. Early reviews weren't great either, and what we got here was a film with a really great concept and some really great elements, but overall, I think the execution was far from perfect. The first act of this film is probably the weakest. The Flash is assisting the Justice League with a building falling over, and he's got to save people and whatnot, and it's just a bit cringy. The dialogue is questionable, the jokes aren't very good, and the CGI is very, very questionable. And it just sets a bit of a wacky tone at the start of this film. You know, these characters like The Flash and Ben Affleck's Batman and of course Wonder Woman were introduced into this universe by Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder made his characters less goofy, more serious, more dark, and that works, especially for a franchise like DC. You kind of want that from its characters. You want it to be more dark. You know, it tends to be darker than Marvel is. But here, because you've got a different director at the helm, he's got these characters acting almost what feels like a little bit out of character. Barry Allen less so. And whilst Wonder Woman and Ben Affleck's Batman are not in this movie for very long at all, you know, their moments did feel out of place, their scenes felt a little bit cringy, and it's a shame because that opening act then felt a bit rocky. It's not really a major talking point because that opening segment is like, 15-20 minutes of the movie, and then you kind of get into your real plot. But it doesn't quite allow the film to get off to the best start. But what is evident from the start of this movie is Ezra Miller as the Flash. He is superb in this film. He steals the show. He is charismatic. He is mesmerizing. He's just the personification of entertainment here. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy around him, what he's getting up to off the screen. But what I can say for sure is on the screen, he nails it. I don't think you could really ask for a better Flash performance here. And of course, the Flash, as I said, discovers his ability to travel through time, and therefore he wants to go back and stop the death of his mother. But in doing so, when he gets back to what he thinks is going to be normal time, he meets an alternative version of himself, an alternative version of Batman, and he meets Supergirl. And what he soon realizes is that not only is he in an alternate universe, but he has not come back at the time that he initially left. He's come back at the time when Zod is invading Earth. And it's up to two versions of Barry, Michael Keaton's Batman, and Supergirl to try and stop this threat and save this universe. Now, as I said, Ezra Miller is great as Barry Allen here, but what makes it even better is there's two Barry Allens, and their interactions with each other were just really, really fun and very entertaining, and it honestly felt like two characters. It didn't feel like an actor playing two people when they're kind of similar. It actually felt like two characters, and the Barry Allen that we know, that we've known from other films, actually feels way more mature than this other Barry Allen that he's interacting with, because he realizes what's at stake. He's a little bit older, he's more experienced, so you get an interesting dynamic between these two versions of him. Michael Keaton returning as Batman was awesome. I've never actually seen his Batman films, but he was just so cool in this movie. His suit is awesome, his tech is awesome, the OG Danny Elfman soundtrack playing for him kind of just gave me goosebumps, even though I've only really heard it a couple times. Like, I think I heard it from the Lego Batman game. That's how I actually know that soundtrack. But it's such a good, score. And just whenever he has a moment where he's gliding or he's, flying his bat plane and that is just playing, he just engulfed playing Batman again. And I really do need to go back and watch his Batman movies, because based off this guy is Batman. And Supergirl, who's a new addition here, was really great. She was not corrupted at any point by jokes and humor. That was definitely not the vibe for her character here. She's serious, she's grounded, she's mad, and she's got a mission, in this film. She's not in it for long, but when she is in it, she's really great, and she never felt like a side note. She did feel essential. She felt like a very important character to the plot and to these other characters that need her help. Hopefully we see more of her in future, and yeah, the four characters here, as a team, was just a really great team up. It's not something that you would really think, oh, is it going to be better than the Justice League? But it is I think it is better, honestly. These four characters working together, the two Flashes, Batman, and Supergirl, was such a fun dynamic, especially when you get to a segment in the movie where these four characters are trying to take on Zod as he's, trying to use his super collider thing to destroy the Earth. And this sequence with them fighting Zod, wow. This is one of the most entertaining sequences I've seen. It was such fun action with high stakes, with fun, but with really sad emotional moments, and the punches were not pulled at any point. It has some really quite brutal, tragic moments. The tension felt high. My heart was racing in these moments because you can actually sense that something bad's going to happen, and when it does, you're like, holy shit. And that just applies to this story in general. This story altogether, this plot, is about Barry Allen trying to save his mother. He misses his mother. And in flashback scenes and scenes where he interacts with her, you really do feel that mother-son relationship. It feels very genuine. I think it's really well done. And the stakes are so high for Barry here because he wants to not just save his mother, but save everyone because of the butterfly effect that his actions have caused. So you just feel for him because he's caught in such a difficult situation where he's trying to make everything work. I did leave the cinema conflicted because of mainly the humor in this movie. I think this movie needed a darker tone. Not too dark, because you're dealing with a character like the Flash, who we know is a bit goofy and comedic, at least in this version of the DCEU. And I liked his moments. I liked the way he's a bit skittish and kind of funny and talks really quick, and he's just trying to keep everyone happy. But then sometimes the jokes obviously felt a little bit overdone, and then maybe they flow into other characters, and then it's just a bit of a shame, because I think certain segments just needed to feel a little bit darker and a little bit more serious. And it's annoying because it feels like I say this about all comic book movies nowadays, but I'm kind of at the point now where I'm so fed up of the jokes in a movie that I just want it to be serious, and I'm almost surprised when in a movie like this or other movies they don't make a line, a stupid joke, and it actually stays serious, because I've just had so much of the humor. I don't know when comic book movies became coherently just comedic. I don't know why that became the theme for all comic book movies. The baseline has got to be comedy with some serious moments. I think the baseline should be serious with some comedy moments. But this movie is fun. It's wild. If we'd been told 10 years ago that we'd get a movie like this, I think we'd all be pretty fucking excited that we'd be getting a film like this at all, because on paper it sounds just phenomenal. You get an old version of Batman, you're getting two Flashes, you're getting multiple universes. It's not perfect. There are some elements of this movie I just didn't like that much, and I would just kind of cringe a little bit, and I'd just be like, it's a shame they did that. It's a shame they didn't do it a different way. But the parts and elements of this movie that I liked, I loved. I thought they were great. Initially, obviously, I felt a little bit, but now that I've sat on the movie, it has stuck with me. I've been thinking about it, and, I just keep thinking about the moments that I really, really enjoyed from this film. And I think for that, it's elevated this movie. This was not a perfect execution, but I can't feel negative about this because good outweighs bad here. Overlooking the poor CG and poor humor at times, there is a great story here filled with great cameos, great fan service, and just, there's a lot of great things about this film, and I think it's definitely worth watching. Obviously, mixed reviews out there, there's stuff to do with Ezra Miller, but when you look at this movie as a whole, it's definitely one of the dubs from the DCEU. I would give The Flash a 7 out of 10, and on the rewatchability rating, I'm actually changing the rewatchability rating. Obviously, I do things like how likely I am to rewatch it with a quote, and most of the time I realize I end up saying late night TV because I'm not sure I might watch it if, happenstance it was on the TV. But I'm now going to be rating it with a number, my likelihood almost of rewatching it. My likelihood of rewatching The Flash is a 7 out of 10. Obviously, the closer you are to 10, the more likely I am to rewatch it. And yeah, I think I am likely to rewatch this. Maybe not anytime soon, but I think once it hits a streaming service, I would rewatch this, maybe watch Zack Snyder stuff and then The Flash, because I did enjoy this movie, and I think it's got some really great moments, and yeah, I hope we can get some more from this, some more Ezra Miller, especially as The Flash, because I think he was just fantastic here. Michael Keaton was really sensational as the Batman, and yeah, I really liked Supergirl, so definitely some positives to take from this film. If you've seen The Flash, let me know what you think about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.